The song says, I can read your mind, babe. I know what you're thinking. It's all right. Look, look, look. You are not Avant. I don't know what special powers he had, but I'm telling you, you are not Avant. Your spouse is not Avant. Your boo thing, your significant other, we put it that way. Your significant other is not.
To some, boundaries are just placing limits. To me, it's where the limitless things begin.
Hello, 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 and thank you for tuning into the Boundaries and More podcast with Jess Abraham. I am your host, Jess Abraham, and today's episode is brought to you by Joyful Styles. Joyful Styles is a lifestyle brand that provides premium quality apparel that promotes joy and positivity. Joyful Styles believes how we approach a situation matters, and choosing to be joyful makes all the difference. You have the power, and it's time to embrace it. So get your Joyful Styles apparel at joyfulstyles.com. That's JoyfulStylez.com. Yes, yes, yes. Let's go. Also, you already know. Click those show notes and take that boundaries quiz. Let's see what your boundaries level is and how you can adjust to take things to the next level, or just see how great you're doing, right? After being here listening to 31 episodes before this one, maybe you've increased such in a tremendous way that you want to gauge that. Take that boundaries quiz and let's see what your boundaries levels are. Again, that's in the show notes, so click that link in the show notes to take the boundaries quiz. Okay, now that that's out the way, let's get into this episode. Of course, I am super excited about this topic today. Really, I just bring topics that I am super excited about. So, so every episode, I am truly indeed super excited about the topics. And today's topic is boundaries in relationships. Boundaries in relationships. Now, let me just tell you this. This relationships here refer to romantic relationships. So that's with your boo thing, with your spouse. Yeah, those type of relationships. Boundaries in relationships. So let's jump right into it. So the first thing I want to let you know and put out there is that you must make your expectations known. You must make your expectations known. I know. Like me, back in the day, there was this great song by Avant called Read Your Mind. And the song says, I can read your mind, babe. I know what you're thinking. It's all right. Look, look, look. You are not Avant. I don't know what special powers he had, but I'm telling you, you are not Avant. Your spouse is not Avant. Your boo thing, your significant other, we put it that way. Your significant other is not, right? But on a serious note, we're not God, right? So I know. We want our significant others to just know. But in order for that to even get to a point where you just know, you must make your expectations known, right? They must be known for them to know. Right now, of course, if you express these expectations and you let it be known, and then they're not being mad or whatever's happening, that's another conversation. But I'm here telling you it's very, very important to make those expectations known. Now, so interestingly, recently I was on a coaching call, and this statement was made, and it truly resonated. Yeah, it truly resonated. So I want to give this here, and it deals with these expectations, right? So the statement, so now quote, right, is overly communicated expectations will eliminate disappointments. I'm going to say that again. Overly communicated expectations will eliminate disappointments. Shout out to Mustafa Gone. Look, when like it, yo, it is true. Just thinking back personally in situations where I know, like, if I communicated X, Y, Z, laid it out A through Z, right, and it's very less likely for me to be disappointed in whatever that outcome is, whether it happens or not, because truthfully, I'm like, yo, I did my part. Now, how can we grow and be in bliss from this point? Right? That's like my goals and my way of operating. Like, all right, this is what I want. What is it that you want? Again, and I want to make this clear. This should be communicated between you and your spouse, not just you or your significant other, right? Not just you telling what you want, which is a great start, but getting that reciprocated response from whatever your spouse wants to, because that's important, right? You can't just have one person having a different type of experience in the relationship or marriage than the other person necessarily, right? Truth be told, uh, it was a point in time I realized that my wife and I was having two totally different experiences in our marriage. I was living in bliss. I'm telling you, bliss. But there were some areas my wife just was not too happy about for different reasons, right? Now we came to what might be the underlying reasons of certain things, which we get into, or we won't get into necessarily here. But truthfully, make sure you are on one accord. One accord, not necessarily meaning wanting the same exact things, but one accord meaning you communicate your expectations and have your significant other communicate their expectations. And you operate in such a way that these expectations are being met because you communicated them, right? That's what I wanted to start there, right? And when you do that, just thinking about it, making sure that we are talking about boundaries here. So those expectations include things you may want and things you may not necessarily want or you aren't a fan of, etc. You must be honest about all of it. All of it. Pros, cons, all of it. Want, don't want, all of it. Good, bad, ugly, all of it. You must communicate it all. Like truthfully, no, I just saved that point for later, but I can just tell you now too, and hear it again at the end. Really, all of this is going to be about communicating. At the end of the day, that's what it really comes down to. In the episode I did when I gave ways to effectively set ways to effectively set boundaries, that episode, one of the main things was communicate. Like that's again what it really comes down to. And I want you all to see the theme throughout it all. I just spoiler alert, spoiler alert. That's really what it comes down to. But then I'm giving you some practical stuff that you can actually communicate about, just in case you don't know. All right. Now, we talk about expectations and want, don't want, all of that stuff, right? Next, I want to kind of like give an example about like making sure that your spouse or your significant other, I say spouse because I'm happily married, but making sure that your significant other knows, especially if you're living together, like when you want your space, right? I know it's very important for each and every one of us to have our me time. That me time is important. Yes, you might love hanging out with your significant other, hanging out with your spouse, your boo thing, right? But having that me time woven in though, like somewhere up in the day or during the week, etc., is so important. I'll tell you one of the reasons why, like, it's not fun resenting the person that you love, right? Or you're growing to love, right? Maybe you're dating and it's really early on. You haven't fallen in love yet. But truly, it won't be fun if you don't communicate these expectations, let them be known, and really have that me time. You're going to start probably resenting your significant other. We don't need that. That doesn't make for a fun, blissful relationship, marriage. Like it does not. I'm telling you, look, cheat code. I'm telling you right now, make sure you get some me time up in there. And it can be something as simple as, like, for example, when when I'm winding down at night, or when it's time for me to shower and even day night, whatever. Like, me and my wife got this thing now, like, yo, we let each other have our time. So me more so than her necessarily, but I want my space when I'm in the bathroom. Right? We don't have necessarily a really tiny bathroom, and she's gonna be cramping my space. I mean, I definitely want a bigger bathroom and whatnot, but we'll get there. That's just, first world problems. But we have a decent sized bathroom. But again, I just want my space when I'm in there. I want to be in the shower and have my and be in my thoughts. Or if I want her to come in there and I want us to talk about something, then we do that. But again, I want to be in my own space. I want to be able to shower and get out the shower and do all the things that I want to do. Getting out the shower and brushing my teeth and just all of these things. I want my space when I'm doing it. Like, I don't want to have to, like, try to maneuver around my wife or wait for her to pass by and me to come. Like, I don't want to do that. Right? So we have this thing, and she knows, up when it's just shower time, I'm gonna just be somewhere else. We got that. We started to, like, truthfully have separate bathrooms. For some of you, that may be the situation if you're like someone like me and just like your space in the bathroom, but is not, that big or whatever. Maybe to be in great standing in your relationships, your marriages, then having that separate space, like, okay, this bathroom is dedicated for this person, that one is for that person. And look, I'm telling you, I don't know about y'all, but for me, it's a big thing when it comes to that. Like, I just personally like my space when I'm showering, brushing my teeth, etc. Like, I just like my space. So again, make sure whatever that looks like for you, right? Me time. Oh, also, just randomly, when I just want to, I want to just relax and watch my own shows on Netflix or Hulu. That don't happen a lot, but sometimes I want to do that. Or I want to just, that me time consists of me working. That can be because I work from home. I have my own businesses. So me being in my office, or me being in some other type of space in our home where I just want to have that me time, that quiet time to do the things that I enjoy, that brings me joy, that's outside of us. Although we're always us. Don't get it twisted. We're always us, but that me time is so important. It's important for me, and I know it's truly important for you. Just take advantage of that. But make sure now, again, we talking about communicating this thing out. Make sure when you are doing that and having your me time or wanting your me time, that you communicate that to your significant other. Don't just go ghost and have some me time and say, yeah, Jazz said I should have some me time. So no, I also said you must communicate that, so don't get it twisted. Like, look, we're not here to cause problems in relationships. It's about communicating that, like, oh, it's a me time. I'm going to go do this and I want to just have this quiet time or whatever. Just communicate that. I promise, if, just say, no shade, but if you have a great, loving, and caring, truly significant other, they will understand, because truthfully, they want it too. They might have just not said anything because they think that you are going to think something about them wanting me time. Even if that's me time going somewhere out to the store or out to wherever, whatever that looks like, right? Don't think about, yeah, we're not going to get into that. Listen to the previous episode and make a decision. I talk about stop thinking for other people. Yeah, we're going to stop doing that. So, again, I'm going to leave that there. Get that me time, whatever that looks like for you, but make sure you communicate it to your significant others. So your significant other. So, that it helps you all with the boundaries, right? Like, I'm putting things in place and letting you know, like, hey, this time is mine. Please don't intrude. Don't bring me drama. Don't ask me these questions. None of these stuff. Like, this is my time. Period. Okay? Get that me time. All right. I think you all get the point there. So, moving on. Ooh, we're gonna get into some. I hope that like warmed you up a little bit, because we're gonna get into some topics that may be real kind of sticky or sensitive for some of you, right? But it's important and it's necessary. So I will mention it and talk about it here, right? Please, please, please be sure you discuss what it looks like for communication with exes. You know, for some of you, that can be your co-parenting situation, right? You're not with your child's mother or father, but now you're in a co-parenting situation. Hey, talk to your significant other, your current boo, right? Your current spouse, whatever, what that looks like in that co-parenting situation. That's important. Or if it's not a co-parenting situation, look just what it looks like, period. Because there's some people, I know people that are really cool and tight with some of their exes, and their spouse is not necessarily feeling that, but it creates this friction because of whatever. One spouse is like, well, ain't that big of a deal, I don't want them, whatever. But you must communicate what that looks like. You can't just be out here doing whatever you want to do as a single person when you have the significant other. That's so important. So communicate those things, what that looks like, what that look like with those exes. Okay. Also, it's very, 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 very important to discuss and set those boundaries with friends and family members, right? What it look like. We're going to start with the friend dynamic. Certain friends, and you know this, certain friends may be just bad influences. You know it. They're a bad influence. You shouldn't be hanging out with them. When you do hang out with them, they have this mentality, whatever, whether they're single or married or whatever, they just don't think like the way the blissful folks in the marriage will think, right? And they may be a bad influence. They might want to go out and party and doing all these things, engaging in these activities that they should not be engaging in, all these different things. Talk about those friends. And if you listening to this and you have friends like that, respect your significant other enough to just limit that time with those friends, or just cut them off. Because if you're really trying to go somewhere in your relationships, like, that can hinder you. We don't want that. So be sure to limit that time with those people, those friends, right? I have to do my quotes there. And it's so important. Limit that time or cut them off. Super, super, super important. We can't have that, y'all. Again, set those boundaries. What that looks like you got to put boundaries around yourself sometimes, right? It's not just about the boundaries setting for your spouse, your significant other, but for yourself, right? It comes into play, like, govern yourself first. Please make sure you govern yourself first. All right. Moving into another, maybe a touchy subject for some of you. This does not, I repeat, this does not apply to me, my life, my marriage. But for lots of people I know, it definitely applies. So you must discuss the do's and don'ts for and with the kids, right? Some parents let their children do whatever they want. Like one parent in the relationship may let them do whatever they want because they want to be known as the cool or the good parent or whatever. And the other one is so super restrictive, and they might be known as the strict parent or the bad cop, or you want to look at it like that. People know that analogy, good cop, bad cop type thing. Discuss those things, like what it really looks like. Set those expectations with each other and with the children. That's important. The boundaries must be set there. Like, one thing I didn't mention, but I want to mention is here because it dropped in my spirit and reminded me, right? It's important for you to like set those boundaries where you know that, you know what, there are days where it just, you ain't feeling it, period. And what you want to do is communicate this stuff with your spouse. And we talk like, of course, with the maybe even your kiddos, depending on their ages, etc. But definitely with your significant other, so that they're not tripping necessarily, because that's how you may see it. I know, yeah, that's how you may see it, like they're tripping on whatever. But set it so that like they aren't tripping because you communicated. Again, we're back to that communication thing. Communicate how you feeling, what's going on, or giving them that heads up. Look, I'm coming home. This is what it is. I want to just relax. Like, do those certain things. Like, I want to be just giving my own space. I want to have some super me time when I get home. Things of that sort. Setting, again, we're talking about communicating, setting those expectations, and letting that be known, because it must be important. Well, it is important for you to set that stuff up in a way so that, again, we're working for blissful relationships and marriages here. Okay? When you do that, that helps you along that line of bliss, true bliss. Okay? It's nothing like it. I promise you. You might fall in and out, but the goal is definitely to get there and stay there as long and as much as you can, truthfully. All right. Next, again, another touchy subject, super touchy subject. All right. I want you to be sure you discuss the do's and don'ts sexually. Yep. Discuss those do's and don'ts sexually. There are things that one of you may like, one of you may not. You might do certain things for certain reasons, whatever. But it's important that you establish those boundaries around certain things. Have some code words or something. Right? Make sure you do that. I don't need to stay on that long. You already know. Make sure you're having those discussions and communicating that. Super, super, super important. No miscommunication there. No person is feeling some type of way about anything, whatever. Just communicate that. Very, very, very important. With that being said, in all of these things, with that and all of these things, I want you to know that you have the right to change your mind. You have the right to change your mind. Maybe you like certain things before as me time, and now you want to change it to be something else. They got accustomed and used to it, but now you want to change it. Just communicate that, right? You have the right to change your mind. Maybe you like something they did and now you don't. You have the right to change your mind. Again, just communicate that. It's so important. Something that may have been acceptable, i.e., friends and whatever else, in a relationship before, you don't find it as acceptable now. You have the right to change your mind, but let that be known. Don't start just acting funny when this friend come around, your significant other trying to figure out why you acting like that, etc., because you didn't communicate that. Look, we're not going to do that. We're going to communicate what it is that we see, what's going on, how we feeling, etc. Communicate that, because you have the right to change your mind. And don't feel bad about that. I know that's easier said than done, but don't feel bad about changing your mind. We change as people, we grow, we develop, and we tend to like different things as we do, or don't like certain things as we do. Right? Certain things that may have bothered us before don't now. Certain things that didn't bother us before might now. Like, just communicate all of that stuff. And know you have the right to change your mind. All right, we're going to be getting out of here shortly. But before we go, I want to make sure I mention this one. It's big for me, and it's very interesting. We'll touch more on in depth in this in a later episode, but make sure you are setting boundaries and communicating with your significant other about expectations when it comes to your in-laws and other family members, right? Make sure you are setting those boundaries, creating those expectations, having those conversations. There's much needed and necessary conversations talking about those in-laws and other family members, right? What they look like when they're coming over, or if you don't want them to come over, what are you going to do in those situations? Talk about all of that. No surprises. Don't need to be feeling uncomfortable in your own space because of it. Communicate, communicate, communicate. This is what it's all about. Really communicate, communicate, communicate. When you are setting all of these boundaries in your relationship, again, we're talking romantic relationships with your significant other, right? I'm saying others because there's multiple people listening to this, but you just have the one. Or if you roll like that and y'all got an understanding, whatever, none of my business. But when you are setting these boundaries in your relationships, please be sure in all that you do, you communicate effectively. Okay, don't just yell it or shout it like, well, I don't like this person, I don't think you should handle it. No, that's not the way the message gonna get across. Not the way you want it to anyway. You think you're making a difference by yelling and raising your voice and doing all these type of things like that. No, not gonna happen. So make sure you're communicating in a way that's effective so that your significant other gets it, you get it, and y'all be on the same page, right? Make sure you talk about that stuff. Also, I just thought about this that I didn't include, but I will include now. Just thinking, dropped in my spirit. Yo, communicate and set boundaries about the way y'all communicate with each other, right? To wrap it all up in a bow, communicate how you prefer to be communicated with, what that looks like for you, what you will and will not necessarily accept. Again, do it respectfully, effectively, tactically. Like, make sure you're doing these things. We're not yelling and trying to get our point across and whatever. If that's how you have been growing and grew up to know, like, that's how the communication works, maybe your spouse is on the opposite end of that and like, oh no, that's not going to fly here, right? Communicate those things before it blows up into something big. And it definitely, again, we working and wanting bliss. That's it. That's the goal. Like that is. And it's very, very possible to be super blissful in all your relationships, right? So, yeah, we're going to dive in deeper with the family side of things. We got an episode coming up when we talking about the boundaries with friends and family, but yeah, we'll get there. We're gonna get there. But that's it, right? This episode went a little bit longer than I originally expected, so we're going to cut that here, and if there needs to be a part 2, we'll make that happen. I'll make sure that there's a part 2 for this. But yeah, just some of the things that you can think about. The whole episode, it's been a practical tip, right? It's something that you can implement today. All of these are action steps. Every single thing I mentioned today are action steps, and you can go out right now and start doing it. Don't need to wait. There's nothing on here that you really need to wait for, with some caveats, right? If you're gonna have kids and in the future you will, things of that sort. The things that apply to you. I'll say it like that. The things that apply to you, you can go out right now and utilize them today. So I encourage you to go out and utilize these things today. All right, so that's it. That's all I have for you today. I want you all to really take some time out, like I mentioned, and take that boundaries quiz. See where you are, and have your significant other take it too. See where you both are, right? You might be some same levels or different levels, and that may be some of the answers to some of these questions, and setting these expectations, etc., can help you through that process, right? So take time, click the show notes to take that boundaries quiz. Also, you all be sure to click that link to support the show. If the show has been blessing you, doing something for you in your life or those around you, click that link to support the show. I would really, really appreciate it. Yes. So I really want you all to go out and have an amazingly beautiful day. It's so important to me. So please go out and have an amazingly beautiful day, and be back here next week for more boundaries and more. Which, whoa. Before we do that, I just thought about it. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Boundaries and More Podcast. Again, that's on Instagram at Boundaries and More Podcast. And now, you all be sure to tune in for a really, really great episode next week on Boundaries and More with Jess Abraham. Talk to y'all then.